will call on Senator Michael McDowell. I'm not curbing any debate, but I would hope that you won't spend an hour on one syllable or one word. So,
I understand that the business we're speaking to this afternoon is a motion to adjourn the House, and it occurred to me that rather than prolong the matter too much, we do have a number of months to go as senators, so if any of you are patient, I can keep going. I do want to start, if I may, by thanking you, Caoirlig, and your Vice Chairperson, Lasca Hirlich, Paul Coughlin, for all of the wonderful service you've given to this House, your friendship, your kindness, and the competence in which you have demonstrated. I also want to thank Martin Groves and Bridget Doody, who are here today, for the immaculate way in which they have performed their functions and encouraged us to keep the dignity of this House, while at the same time accepting the diversity of this Seanad compared to other Seanads and the absence of a ruling whip in it. I was listening to Senator Ruane, and she was discussing here, and as she has on other occasions, her background, her concerns and the like. And I want to say this in passing, that on trips abroad, one of which we did to Morocco, and I've recently been to Taiwan, it's great to make prolonged contact with your fellow members of this House, because you get to understand them a good deal more. But she recounted on one occasion an outing before the District Court in Tallaght, before District Judge James Paul MacDonald. I was just wondering recently, did she notice in the newspapers a man who was prosecuted for stealing 42 packets of rashers? And when District Judge James Paul MacDonald asked him whether he was pleading guilty or not guilty, he said guilty. So. On a serious note, I noted in today's Irish Times a namesake of mine, Bishop John McDowell of Clogher, Church of Ireland Bishop in Northern Ireland, and his diocese straddles the border, emphasising the importance of civility. And it does seem to me that one thing, apart from simply friendship, which there is in abundance in this House, there has always been civility. And recently, when some people were urging me to go somewhere else with what remains of my political career, it did occur to me that, and in fairness to TDs, this should be said, nearly every day they are at war. Nearly every day they wake up and wonder what FOI is going to hit them below the waterline, what competitors are going to say about them and the like. And it is a truth that political discourse in this democracy has been under stress recently, and there has been a willingness to impugn the integrity and the motivation of others. But there hasn't been in this House ever, and I want to say that, that no matter what persuasion members of this House have on any ideological or party basis, we are, I think, all friends here, and I don't think that we've ever had sharp words. I've never seen really sharp words in this House, or any ongoing disputes or feuds which go through that door to any other place. And I want to thank the members of this House for their friendship and for their kindness. As I say, when I was thinking of, what the difference was between here and Dáil Éireann, I think it really is this, that here there is civility and there is friendship. And what Bishop McDowell was saying is very true, and there's no reason why we should lose sight of that. Senator Marshall invited a group of us to visit Stormont, and it was an empty building in which the Speaker sat alone in an office. But in the course of a tour, we were given a briefing on the political situation in Northern Ireland, and we were given that briefing in an empty Senate chamber in Northern Ireland. And I understand what has been said here today, particularly in relation to by Sinn Féin contributors about the northern dimension. But one thing I think should be said, and that is that if there is to be unity on this island, it is quite probable that there will be two separate political parts of a united Ireland. And I think in preparation for that, it would be a wonderful thing if Northern Ireland reinstated some kind of chamber where people weren't elected simply on the question, on the basis of their position on the constitutional question, but groups were represented in civil society in Northern Ireland in the legislative process along the lines that the people in 1937 had in mind when they established this vocational chamber. Members have mentioned the question of the reform of this chamber, and I want to, if I may, to say that I have never been naive on this subject. I know that if you are dealing with a chamber which has for 50 years run on one basis, it's difficult to persuade people to change it. But however that process is brought forward now, I strongly believe in it as much as I did when Fergal Quinn asked me to stand in his place for the National University of Ireland in order to progress that matter. And members have mentioned the Seanad Reform Implementation Group, and amid all of the persons mentioned for gratitude, I just want to single out again Sheila de Burca and Amanda Riley and Brian Hunt, who hugely assisted in the preparation of that report. And I am confident that it will be the locus and focus of a movement for reform in future. The last thing I want to say is this, that we've had 4 years or more or less in this House, and some people have been more pessimistic, myself among them, about the longevity of this House. I met Senator Mary-Louise O'Donnell the other day, and she reminded me that I owed her a bet, that she had said it would last until after Christmas. And I have brought along my money to pay the debt. But I do want to say one thing. She's a very inventive and resourceful woman, because my clear recollection is I laid the huge sum of €100 with her on this subject, but she's now demanding €500. That is not the kind of loyalty that Enda Kenny would have got from her. But whatever may be the case, I want to finish on this note, that this House is a wonderful part of our constitutional architecture. It was nearly abolished. We had made the journey to the National Museum and back in the last 4 years. None of us should cease to be ambitious for this House, and all of us should be very, very grateful to the support that we get from the staff of Leinster House in every shape and form. Our democracy depends on them, and it depends on this House continuing in existence. This House will only continue in its existence if its members are ambitious for it. And I believe that in the future years, this House will live up to those ambitions, and that the people of Ireland will be glad that they maintained their confidence in Seanad Éireann. Thank you.
Thank you.